I think we're live. We did it. Oh, you wouldn't believe who I found wandering the halls of DevOps UK. Patrick Debois. Holy good God! I can't believe you're here. I don't think I've ever seen you at a Java show. You're like
Uh,
we have the same friends, but different
that's
tracks.
true.
You know?
That's true.
Oh.
Although I'm a long fan of DevOps, obviously from Belgium.
Of
so
course.
I have that history. Java was maybe more the beginning of my career and less
Right.
now, but hey, all good friends.
Right. I mean, so okay. I mean, I know you as one of the like Beatles of DevOps, right? I don't know how to put it. There's like 5 people that if I had to point to in talking about the most influential stuff, obviously yours would be among those 5, right? I said Beatles, there's only 4, but so maybe one among the top 4, right? I think about you. I think about our mutual friend Andrew Clay Schaefer. I think about Gene Kim. Yeah, just it's rare. It's a very
John
small
Willis,
list.
Jess
John
Humble.
Willis, just Humble. Actually, so that's 5. And also, who's the guy that did the eBay guy, Etsy?
Oh, John Ospaw?
John Ospaw. Yeah, it's a, there's a list. Okay, there's a list. It's not a very big list. These are people that did so much to contribute to the art, the movement, the ideas. That because of that good work, it endures today, right? I mean, we don't talk about DevOps so much anymore, but that's because it's just a thing. You don't have to qualify it as a separate thing now. It just a lot of those things are just part of the workflow, Okay, so who are you? I butchered it already. Just tell them who you are. What my people have known you from.
So yes, most people know me from my work around DevOps and having written the DevOps handbook, where a lot of people refer to. Also started DevOps Days and accidentally then coining the word DevOps with that. I kind of done many things, and I'm both, let's say, an IC who cannot decide between management and not management. And I'm always curious about new technologies, new ways to employ it, but also like the impact on people and on our industry in there. I think after roughly 15 years of DevOps, I was bored, if I allowed to say this.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of replay, and yes, we refined it, but the same principles hold as we kind of did, like explained them 15 years ago. And I'm currently completely technology-wise reignited with everything on Gen AI and AI. And I'm exploring that field, whether it's that delivering better applications with better AI, or it's coding or software delivery with better AI, or it's the impact on the organization. So I'm just like, find my new love.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm going for.
Really? So that's huge. Okay, it really is exciting to hear people like you. You're at Tessl.
Tessl, yeah.
This is a company about which I just learned because of our friend Simon Maple, like a month ago when I was at in Arc of AI, the conference there. We talked about this stuff, and it kind of blows my mind what it is. And then today I see you and the other guy. Can I mention him?
Yeah, sure.
Dion?
Yeah.
Dion Almer. Like, people, you give me the vapors. I'm so excited to see people like that working on this company. This is, why? What is it? What's so big? You're like, these are some of the smartest people I've ever met, and you're all working at Tessl. What's going on?
Well, I think we're all excited about the new space, and we all recognize that we don't know where it's exactly headed. And kind of coming together, we kind of write about this, talk about this, and we kind of share our stories. And if I look back on DevOps, the hashtag DevOps was maybe a bad name, but in a way, it was a label where you find the stories on. So as part of Tessl, they have been supporting what they call the AI native dev community, where we share the news, thoughts, and things. So the more we can share, the more feedback we get, the more ideas. And so it's like that vicious cycle on bring that in. And so whatever we learn, we kind of bring back. Now, Tessl as a company is also exploring this space. And they're a big fan of what they call like specification-centric driven development. So imagine in the future world where it's not that much anymore about the code, but you write the specifications and the code got generated.
Right.
Like, how far can we stretch this? right? Is it then about like writing the perfect examples, writing the perfect specifications, and AI will do the code, or will there be something we still have to do? So kind of that is the long stretch where they're going for, and in a way they're kind of like skipping the IDEs or the AI in the IDEs and going like a step further, just like spec driven,
high level generic domain language or whatever. It's
yeah.
like GitOps was a declarative operations
Sure.
on a cluster. This is declarative software on a
But
spec.
this was more still a DSL, what you're describing. As the LLMs, it's now going to be more natural language,
which is awesome,
right? And probably we'll end up with a mixture on like, this is what a spec looks like, and this is what natural language looks like, and then that kind of gets generated. It's fascinating in a way because we've been promised this already like many times before. We just define what we want, computers take over. Maybe we have a better chance. Maybe we can solve some of the problems with this. And that exploration is what we're doing at Tessl. So.
Wow. Okay, like that's TESSL, and then what is this AI native dev stuff? I think I did a talk for them, but I don't know what's the distinction.
So it's actually a pun on, or a pun or a play on, cloud native.
Yeah, I wrote a book called Cloud Native Java.
Hey,
for O'Reilly.
So often when there's a new technology, we first tend to apply this in the same way as we used to do things. When we went to the cloud, we were thinking like, hey, we need VLANs, we need kind of like all that stuff. Like, and all of a sudden, that wasn't there, right? And then we figured out, well, maybe it's a VPC, and we do it with access management, and we do it in microservices. So you see, our ways of working will evolve.
Right.
An AI native developer is seeking that same thing. So imagine you have the coding without AI and the coding with AI. What is actually changing for the developer? How's the role changing? What are the tasks that are changing? What's the mental model that is changing for you to do your job? Now, it hasn't been like perfectly defined, and we're still like every day we find like new ways people are trying this. But that's kind of like why we call it like AI native developer as opposed to the traditional developer.
Oh, I love this. Okay, so now I kind of understand it. Have you given a talk here?
I have a workshop in 20 minutes.
Okay, well, less than that. I know you got to go soon. While I have you for a second,
sure.
I want to connect back to the old stuff, just because I'm always like, you must see a change. Is there some paradigm change in what you're talking about, in the same way that DevOps represented a new way of thinking about the organization of organizations?
Sure.
Like, does this new way of thinking imply a new role in the organization? Or does it imply a transformation of existing roles? Or, where do the people fit in, basically? And what does that look like?
So there's certainly a parallel in a way that DevOps was also a lot about automation. And what you see is with AI, we're also talking a lot about productivity and automation that we're doing, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of is similar. The learning that I would say is that initially, we had the same thing like, oh, you're going to be out of a job, all sysadmins have to go away. But eventually, we got like more people and more stuff to do and more complex things we were able to do. So one assumption is it's going to be the same thing with AI coding. You might not be like all the time coding, but maybe you're managing more agents, maybe you're doing some other stuff, and so maybe we don't have to fear too much for a job, but it's going to be different things. Now, I wrote about what I call the 4 AI native patterns, and one of the first pattern is that we're moving from kind of the coder to being more of a manager, right? We're going to be the ones who say good, not good on the code that is being generated, almost like a consumer. That was the same thing. Like, imagine that is the gating, that you say, okay, CI/CD, yes, no, we're going to allow this, and it's less about the exact thing that we're doing. That means we're also in production going to be still responsible for when the code is in production and it's not working. We'll have to find a way to say, well, we can fix this.
Right.
So there's a little bit of ops that we're moving into there, like the manager space.
And also the like continuous delivery for AI.
Yeah.
It's still you're updating a spec instead of.
Sure.
You're still continuously updating, right? That's a feedback loop that you have to worry about.
So that's kind of like the second thing is that we we go from worrying about the code, moving more into that centric, as you say. So we write the specifications, AI will just roll it out. And if it's not good, we write more specifications. And imagine that's a little bit of the role of a PM, right? They got better to specify what they want, and then the coding kind of gets generated. The move that a developer might make is maybe they start thinking more about the specifications, needing to know the domain a little bit better, which is what like good coders anyway do. They understand the domain and they help in that phase as well. So that's another shift that you see is kind of like, oh, you start caring about the specs more than maybe on the code that we're doing in there.
Wow. Yeah. But do the coders, engineers, whatever, still engage with the code in this world?
In a way, in an ideal way, they just look at like, is it doing what it needs to be doing? If it doesn't do, they might look almost like a debugger under the hood. Now, there's a flip side. If you didn't write the code, how do you actually know what it looks like anymore, right? So, and that's another parallel with the DevOps automation. Imagine we went to, okay, we need to put somewhere in production. Great. We had like CI system first to do the testing, CD to deploy it. We got better. Like, okay, let's deploy this. Now, the system was becoming so good that there were rarely any errors. You know what we introduced? Chaos engineering to train ourselves.
Netflix, let's go.
Right. So imagine that maybe we now have to do, in the long stretch, the chaos engineering for developers to still understand the code drills, right? What is good? What is not good? How do you fix things? Because those situations are going to be dire, right? Like you fix it now. So that's, again, the parallel with DevOps is that we'll have to learn how to deal with it. But this also means that we'll have to find ways to reduce cognitive load, kind of have presentations on what they change and that. So the whole thing of that paradox is the better you get at something, the more you have to train for it.
I see.
Right? That's the irony of automation.
Yeah.
And it was there at DevOps, and there's now also a paper, The Irony of GenAI Automation, and it's the same thing. The more we automate, the more we have to train and so on. So kind of that is it's a flip side. It's shifting complexity in a way. It's not taking away maybe the time saver, but in a way that is one of the parallels that I'm seeing in there as well. So.
I saw an interesting tweet today that said that contrary to what he was promised or what doomsayers suggested, what he discovered, it was Lex Friedman, actually, who, being 100% honest with you, I don't always agree with, but this one kind of it resonated with me. This one thought, which was that contrary to what he was told, he's actually writing more code as a result of AI being in his life, because he's got. I mean, it's a force multiplier, right? It's an abstraction level above, and it lets you think about higher order problems.
It was the same thing with DevOps. We were going to automate ourselves, and then we wrote bigger things, and more complex things, and now we're writing like in our own language to do this, right? So there's a certain paradox in once you get better at something, you can enter the field and make it deal with the more complex problems, which takes more time, but that's also the interesting part, and that's like the reduction of the toil, doing things for us. And that's quite promising in there.
And and the other thing he said that I didn't really think about, but when he said it, it made a lot of sense, which is he's emboldened because he's able to take bigger bets more quickly, and because he's able to make bigger bets more quickly, he's willing to try. Because it doesn't hurt as much. So having the ability to go up and make these big swings.
So. I think you touched on an interesting point, which is actually the risk associated with it. We know the technology is inherently flawed, so we know that we cannot rely on it like perfectly.
Right.
That means we have to architect for the failure when this happens, and that was a whole resilience engineering as well, kind of how to deal with the failure. Now, if you want to go faster, you need better brakes. Now, what do we have in terms of AI coding as brakes? Well, a linter, a security scanner.
Right.
Okay. Maybe a few of those, like,
evaluators.
Evaluators.
Yeah.
But still, then we need the feedback loop from production. Are the customers not having issues and errors?
Of course.
I'm not seeing that yet towards the code and being that integrated, but I'm sure that's going to happen. Is the code runnable, right? And that's where prototyping, feedback loops, maybe I can write like 7 things. I'm going to now completely take the extreme, but imagine you put out a product,
okay,
and the customer is actually vibe coding what they need.
Wow.
Right? So it's not like a vibe coding on the developer and so on, but you build a product, and instead of just using feature flags, they do the vibe coding, they're happy with it, and that comes back as feedback to what you really need to build. That's a powerful loop.
And actually, that's one that also speaks to me. Our mutual friend Andrew Clay Schaefer and I, we both worked at Pivotal, and we served on the Cloud Foundry project, basically. And one of the things we noticed was one of the biggest users of Cloud Foundry because it was a platform.
Mm-hmm.
And if your apps work if you have a workload that fits in the platform, it's a force multiplier because it's so much higher. It's not going to be for every use case, but for the use cases for which it was suitable, it was a force multiplier. And one of the things that I let people do was do kind of end runs around IT. Like you'd have a marketing department that just needed to get something out the door quickly, and so they could go to this platform and get an app up and running. Self-service, right? And it allowed them, the customer, to sort of say, here's my vision, it's deployed, right? As opposed to, I'll requisition some budget to get 20 people to start thinking about it next quarter, whatever.
The hundreds and thousands of product IDs that never got implemented, right?
Yeah, I just want to I need this up for the season. It's going to be useless once the marketing season is done.
Yeah.
Please, or there's a charity event, whatever, that kind of stuff. That rapid direct to production kind of mentality.
So we're going to learn as an industry what those kind of breaks will be and how we're going to deal with the failures. Evals in general, I think code evals is something we'll be thinking about, like agents giving feedback. But it's definitely right now a risk thing. Like, am I okay with taking the risk? With more automation, is that fine? You shouldn't also be automating everything per se. If there's a cost to this, so there's balances to this, similar to what we had to deal with DevOps. So,
well, I can't wait to see what it's going to be like. Are you going to write a book?
Maybe. Who knows?
The AI DevOps handbook or something.
Yeah. Who knows, right? So.
I look forward to reading it. Whatever it is, sir. You're an inspiration. We got a comment here. Nice to meet Patrick Debois, who is famous as one of the founders and key figures of the DevOps movement. In 2009, he organized the first DevOps Day conference in Belgium, which is we talked about that earlier. But you've got some fans, cool. many fans, obviously.
Yeah, and actually on next week Tuesday, we're going to do an AI native DevCon. So there's a lot of talks. It's a free virtual conference. So I have something with conferences.
Surely. Well, this is May. We're recording this May 8th, 2025. Okay. So. For context, for people listening to this in 100 years in the dystopian future, where it's all just wastelands or whatever,
All right.
Sir, I mean, this is a vaguely ridiculous question with you, obviously, but are you on the internet? And do you want to be found? And if so, where can people find you?
I think the easiest way is to go either to my website, which is jedi.be. It's pretty simple. Or you can find me on LinkedIn, Patrick Debois. I should be easy to connect with. That's the easiest.
So you're, that's amazing. And are you on Blue Sky or Twitter?
I'm Blue Sky, Twitter, but
Yeah, okay. Sure. LinkedIn, whatever.
YouTube channel if you want to.
You've got a YouTube channel?
All my talks are on the YouTube
channel. Is it
channel.
just Patrick Debois?
It's Jedi Forever.
I'm going to follow that. So you've got just out of curiosity, you're from the Flemish part of Belgium, but do you speak any French? You've got a nice French. S'il faut, ok, bon. C'est ta langue maternelle ou bien?
C'est ma deuxième langue.
Ok, bon. Incroyable. Je me demandais. Ok. Merci. Thank you, everybody.
Right.
Thank you, Patrick.
Bye-bye. All right, let me get to the